Some people just stand out in a crowd. Excellent at their craft, excellent in their thinking. And they're not hard to find because they stand out. My name's Joe Crenshaw, and I'm looking for the standouts. What's up, friends? We're pumped to have my man Keith Thode here. Keith and I go way back, a total of probably maybe 4 years, right? But he and I got connected at the Lyft office, which is actually a community co-working space here in Grapevine, Texas. And so that's how we originally connected. I think we had some similar value systems that kind of connected us as well, but just professionally, he owns AdvancedNet Technologies. Also kind of a branch of that is AdvancedNet Labs. I'll let him tell you way more about that. But I guess let's just start there, right? Let's give kind of a framework of who Keith Thode is, your business, kind of where your business started, what that looks like, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we started AdvancedNet because we believe that the corporate sector has developed these technologies and processes that have really raised the standard of living for most of society. And so how do you take those same capabilities and apply them to people who have been left behind or affected by a crisis?
Yeah, and so let's dig into that just a little bit more with, obviously the technology aspect is where y'all's expertise is, right? But with that, now you can leverage your expertise there to really jump into a space where you feel like there's a need. So what are some of the things that you're doing specifically there, some of the ways that you've had some impact by utilizing those resources?
So where we started where my roots were, which is in a part of the business called supply chain management, which is sort of the flow of goods. So if you think about how a food company like Kraft or Nestle, how do they go get the raw wheat and the other products they need, and they make mac and cheese out of it and put it in little blue boxes and put it in trucks and send it all over to distribution centers and grocery stores.
Yeah.
That was the expertise. Well, then the problem came to us, what happens when Kraft makes too much? Or the box is the wrong color blue, but it's still perfectly good product. And what we did was create these parallel supply chains and the technology to manage those chains to help when too much mac and cheese gets made, to actually get it out to a food bank and out to a food pantry. And through all that, by the way, make it good business for the food producers. So that way everybody benefits and does as much as they can and puts as much leftover mac and cheese in that chain as much as possible.
So, and this is just because I don't know, and I'll let you speak to this, is actually mac and cheese one of the specific examples of things that you're currently doing? Is that like a frame of reference?
It's very specific where we started. We started with early on with a company like Kraft Foods, and actually proved out the fact that they could actually financially profit because of some enhanced tax write-offs and technicalities I won't get into, but we made it good business for them to donate. Yeah. So we started with very stable things like mac and cheese and canned goods, and those are still a very key part. And then we actually moved on to things like more fresher products and ideas of exchanging to try to make sure we're not just getting food to the people who need it, but good nutritional mix.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then one thing you and I spoke about a while ago, another project in another space that I know you're involved in fairly significantly, is really, I know you built an app just for the domestic violence space. And so again, the technology is there to really fill the gap. So speak to that app or that solution in particular and kind of the impact that you've had with that.
Sure. So we've worked on a project called SafeNight, which, as you said, is an app. Our starting point from that is that we learned that when someone is in crisis from a domestic violence situation, about 40% of the time when they make that call or the police make that call to a shelter, they're told no. And that's often because either the shelter's full, but also it may be a woman with teenage boys and the shelters can't take men, or sometimes it is a man. And that telling that person no in their time of crisis is just, it's absolutely heartbreaking, right? So at the same time in Dallas, just Dallas proper, there are 11,000 open hotel rooms tonight, right? So we developed an app that allows, when that shelter gets that call and they can't place that person within their confines, to go put an alert out on our app. And we have a crowd of donors that will go and somebody will go and pay for that hotel room that night, and they can say yes and put that person in safety.
That's so awesome. And then so with that, like, just speak to, and maybe just generally, right? It doesn't have to be specific to that solution, but if you're looking back on a lot of the different systems or solutions that you guys have created, what would you look back on and say, man, there was so much good and impact that we were able to do with this?
Right. So I think, some of the things that touched me more personally is some of the work that we've gotten to do in things like disaster relief. So we brought some of our technology and our systems and business thinking into, our first big one was the Hurricane Katrina relief. And I was on the ground in the days right after Katrina, filling the trunk of my car with gas cans because there was no gas in New Orleans, and basically driving a bomb into New Orleans, But then to go implement the systems needed to get the right aid in to the right place at the right time. That went on to being a first responder in several other events, including the earthquake in Haiti. I was the very first day's responder after that. And to be able to make a difference in such a really tragic time touched me the most personally. But then that food bank work, I mean, we're going to move hundreds of thousands of pounds of food over the time you and I are talking over those systems, which is just
amazing.
It was a gift to be a part of.
I can't even understand the ins and outs of something like that, but that's large scale, right? That's a huge thing. So for you going forward from here, right? Obviously, some of the work you do is situational or contingent on whatever the need is for things going forward. But what are some of the things that you guys are today looking forward to, some solutions, things that you guys are creating to impact a certain community or social sector?
Yeah, so some of the stuff we're really most passionate about now is education and workforce development and getting folks hired. So getting them to where they don't need the food bank anymore, right? How do they have choice for themselves and pride in themselves? And how do we take the same technologies? We talked about the Kraft example. Well, now we have access to the same learning systems, the same hiring systems that Bank of America has, that UPS has, that Neiman Marcus has to kind of assess and train and get their folks in the right roles. We now have that exact technology, and we're using it to help veterans who come back and need some assessment and reskilling and placed in the right opportunities that fit well with them, or somebody who's been previously incarcerated or had other struggles. So we really feel like this is our next step into helping really people be independent and have control over their own lives and have true freedom.
So from the outside looking in, like that's one of my favorite things about not just Keith Thode, right, but what Keith Thode does is that you're able to use your business and professionally, you're able to have that level of impact and kind of integrate business with social impact or just doing good for the community and things like that. So I love that. And then the last thing I'll ask real quick is just how can we help you? How can we set you up for success?
Yeah, so we are always looking for new partnerships, new opportunities. So folks who have a new technology where they see it might make an impact. And we're very good about also providing good return for those folks. We had, exposure to some of our great name brand clients. Or if you just have business skills and you just want to find a way to use some of that time for social impact. We're pretty adept at that and getting the most out of the time that people have and really providing some life-changing and heart-changing experiences for you too.
It's awesome. Well, dude, thanks so much for climbing. Let's do another close. You ready? Well, dude, thanks so much for coming. So glad to have you. You know I love you, bro. I appreciate you coming and talking and being able to communicate with the community as well, just on how much impact you guys are having. So
well, thanks so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll put his information in the comments for you guys to be able to see and follow and look at his profile and look at all the stuff that he's doing. So anyway, we appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.